And we are live. Welcome to Verbal on Life. Now, the New York District Attorney is getting sued by a Dominican bodega guy working, and a guy just jumped into the bodega and tried to stab him and rob him. And I remember the time it happened, I thought it was a crazy story that a gentleman could just walk into your place of business, rob you, and then you get sued. The guy who got robbed got arrested. And it was a crazy, crazy story. But in this video, I want to give an update as to what's happening. I found a video by Nate the lawyer who really goes into the case. But instead of me talking about it, I want to show it to you guys. And before I show it, I want to give a shout out. We get up to 535 subscribers. So shout out to the new subscribers. We're moving on up. I am shocked that I got that many subscribers. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that idea. And if this is your first time to the video, go ahead and give it a subscribe. All right. My name is Noel here on Verbal on Life. I'm battling MS. I can still talk, still move my fingers. And everything is numb. Like my hands are numb, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to keep going as long as I can. So with that said, let me show the video and you guys, and we can talk about it afterwards. Let's go.
Former New York City bodega worker Jose Alba is suing District Attorney Alvin Bragg and the NYPD for racial discrimination after his controversial prosecution for acting in self-defense.
Shout out to Nate the lawyer.
So in New York City, criminals are now considered the victims. Why is that? Well, because the police are supposedly racist, the prosecutors are racist, and the laws are racist. Now, why is this? Well, this is because the left likes to play identity politics, and law enforcement was the target of these policies, especially after the death of George Floyd.
I'm gonna speed it up.
See, the new view is that black and brown criminals need to be understood and not held accountable. This is why you see things like this. Here's a guy who was arrested over 100 times for shoplifting, but because of bail reform and the fact that he happens to be black, he's misunderstood and he was released every time. And he's not the only one. Here's another person who says they are a professional shoplifter, also has over 100 arrests. This person was let go every time. Why? Bail reform. You know, it's so crazy. Listen to this person literally admit to being a professional shoplifter. Check out this clip.
When you take something, they call that petty larceny. Anything that's under $1,000 considered petty larceny. Anything that's over $1,000 is called considered grand larceny. That's why I had a felony. I had a felony for grand larceny. I went to Bloomingdale's and I stole. So I professionally obscured some items consisting of polo and Ralph Lauren shirts and pants for the winter.
Okay, and you got a pretty nice shirt on. Did you steal that shirt?
Did I obscure this shirt? I sure did obscure this shirt.
Right. Will you go stealing now? I mean, will you steal even now that you're out on supervised
I have to
release?
get me an outfit.
You have to what?
I have to get me an outfit.
You have to get a new
I have to
outfit.
get a new outfit.
Okay, so you're going to go steal it.
So I have to go work.
Work and steal it.
I don't call it stealing. I call it professional. I'm professional.
So these light on crime policies in New York have sent crime skyrocketing because people are like, hey, I can do whatever I want and not be held accountable. Now,
That's
this
crazy.
came to a head when this worker at a neighborhood store was attacked. Here's what happened.
The incident occurred late last Friday night at Blue Moon Convenience Store in Hamilton Heights, a neighborhood 6.5 miles north of Midtown Manhattan. A woman tries to buy a bag of chips for her daughter, but her EBT card is declined. An argument ensues. The clerk, Jose Alba, takes the chips back. The woman leaves the store, returning with her boyfriend, Austin Simon. You can see Simon walk behind the counter and shove Alba against the wall. A scuffle breaks
That's
out.
scary.
Alba reaches for a knife on the counter and stabs Simon several times.
So this case was clearly self-defense, right?
So Jose Alba, he's a Dominican who was just doing his job. And a guy you saw it, just jumped in there and tried to hurt him. That's crazy.
Right. The mayor and other city leaders came out and supported the employee who was protecting himself against this wild attacker who came into his place of business. Here's the mayor.
Earlier today, the mayor defended the clerk's actions.
What I saw on the video was a New Yorker that was doing his job. And that
He was doing his
disruption of the job happened because someone was aggressive.
But the criminal
Yeah.
who stormed the store threatening to beat up the clerk was black. And the DA didn't see him as a criminal, but a misunderstood person. Now, he needed to protect this obvious criminal, so he charged the bodega worker with murder, even though all the evidence was crystal clear. This was obviously self-defense.
Now, the front page story causing outrage. An elderly convenience store worker.
Shout out to Dominican bodega worker. That gentleman just went to work and did his job like he was supposed to. And look at that, being charged with murder for defending himself.
Fatally stabs a man he says assaulted him. Despite claims he acted in self-defense, he was charged with murder and sent to one of the most dangerous jails in America. Here's Les Trent.
There is front-page outrage over the arrest of a store clerk who says he stabbed a violent customer in self-defense. Fox News personalities are going all out in support of the clerk, Jose Alba.
He was in reasonable fear of deadly force being used against him. He got the knife. He did what was right to protect himself.
If a criminal decides to bust up and beat up an old man in a bodega, he might get stabbed. That's a consequence of being a criminal and screwing around with violent behavior.
Justice gone mad, says page 1 of the New York Post.
So after a huge public backlash from people saying, hey, how can you go into a store, go behind the counter, and accost the person behind the counter, push them down, grab them by the collar, and try to take them somewhere, and you can't defend yourself? What is this world coming to?
This is crazy, and that just goes to show the crime in New York City. The crime is going out of hand. It's really going crazy. And that was at the time, I think that was last year, is what he said. But the point is, good thing that was public outcry. They let the man go, and now today he's trying to sue. He's suing the city for what they did, for being racist, for charging him for protecting himself. We are living in crazy time, and that's my opinion. You know, I'm not a lawyer. I can't tell you what's right or wrong, but the video shows, obviously, he feared for his life, and he was just protecting himself. And that's just an opinion, right? It's going to go to law, and they're going to make their own decision. So in this channel, we're not saying what's correct or wrong, just my opinion. Next, I gave a report, or I talked about a stabbing in Brooklyn. There was a guy, by the name of Ryan Carson. That is horrible, that he ended up getting stabbed. Here's an update. They finally caught the guy who did it. Let me show you a small clip. So this particular gentleman, a teenager, I think the guy's 18, stabbed Ryan Carson. That is horrible. And they finally caught him. That's the tragedy.
Brian, why'd you do it?
Brian, what did he do to you? Brian, what did he do to you?
Brian, why did you do it?
You want to apologize, Brian?
That's the worst case scenario. You know, he ended up losing his life. And that's the guy that was sitting in a park bench, or not a park bench, in a bench, maybe a bus stop bench, with his girlfriend just waiting for the bus to show up. And when they got up to move, this other kid that you just saw being arrested just went ahead and stabbed him. And he ended up dying. I think it was 32, he was in his 30s. Too young to die, you know? Anything under 100 is too young. The hell with that. And they finally caught him, and look at that. The news report are not really talking too much about it because the guy's not white. He's not a white racist guy. They love making stories about the white racist guy who's killing other people. But here we have a gentleman that's mental health issues, unfortunately. And he ended up stabbing and killing that gentleman. So my heart goes out to that gentleman. Oh, he didn't deserve it. I mean, nobody deserves to die at the end of the day, but he was just sitting there waiting, I don't know, waiting for what? With his girlfriend at 4 a.m. in Brooklyn. Horrible, horrible situation. And I wanted to talk about that because that's a horrible, horrible way to go. Just minding your business, and a kid who has his own problem. Here, let me show the clip. of him getting here. Let me show the clip. Here's the news, actually.
Next story, a very brutal murder at a bus stop in Brooklyn. Ryan Carson, a 32-year-old activist, stabbed in front of his girlfriend. For more details on what happened and how the community is remembering Carson, we're joined by Fox 5 New York's Kendall Green. Kendall, tell us about what happened. Have police made an arrest?
Hey, good evening, Carell. Getting justice in the death of Ryan Carson is a top priority for NYPD tonight. He was sitting right here at this bus stop with his girlfriend before being brutally stabbed. And detectives, they tell us that they're closer than ever to naming a suspect in the case.
Video obtained by the New York Post shows Monday's horrific stabbing death of New York social justice advocate Ryan Carson just before 4 a.m.
It's as awful a thing as you can imagine. In a world where too much violence occurs, to see it happen to someone who's you're close with is, of course, brutal.
Blair Horner, a colleague and friend of Carson, has been helping loved ones through a tough week. He describes Ryan as a warm, charismatic rising star at the nonprofit where he worked.
He's a larger-than-life character. He's a big guy, had a big laugh, sort of gentle giant category.
Monday morning, Carson was at the bus stop with his girlfriend on Malcolm X Boulevard and Lafayette Avenue, where they encountered a man in a black champion hoodie, seen on camera acting erratically.
The male in the hoodie suddenly stops and begins to kick and damage mopeds and scooters that were parked on the sidewalk.
Police say he then turned his attention to Carson, questioning what he was looking at before he pulled out a knife and charged at the couple. Carson fell to the ground before being stabbed to death 3 times, once in the heart.
As Mr. Carson lay dying on the sidewalk, the male with the knife kicks him in the chest, threatens to stab the woman companion, and spits in her face.
Police are looking to question a woman they believe is the suspect's girlfriend. They think the two had an argument preceding the stabbing. Video shows the woman reappearing to apparently apologize to the couple, muttering the name Brian. Meanwhile, loved ones have started a GoFundMe campaign asking for help on behalf of his partner in easing the burden and stress following the deadly attack.
Now, police have been working around the clock to get every detail they can, namely the suspect's girlfriend who saw this whole thing unfold, who could add some clarity to this whole entire case. That's the latest from New York City. Kendall Green, Fox 5 News.
We are living in some difficult times, That looked like a guy who was there to help. But things just turned left and he ended up getting killed. That's the worst case scenario for anybody. So my heart goes out to that family. And now that gentleman's going to get processed. You're not going to hear about it in the news because it's a black guy killing a white guy. So the news should stay quiet when that happens. So I'm going to point it out in this episode. So now here we have 2 incidents that the news is going to keep quiet, which is the Jose Alba. I think that was the guy's name. Ended up defending himself, and now he's suing the city for booking him, putting him in jail. And then this other guy who ended up getting killed, just sitting in the bench with his girl. I don't know if that was his girlfriend, but with a girl, and ended up getting killed. Worst case scenario, worst examples that you can imagine. But New York, I used to live there. Shout out to my people who still live in New York. I grew up in New York City, in the Harlem area, pretty tough area. I always tell people, pull up, come see me. Broadway in Amsterdam, 134th Street. Shout out to Nate No Filter. Shout out to Colleen, Jose, and everybody who grew up with me in 134. I'm just glad I made it out alive.
What could this man have done? So the DA, feeling the pressure, dropped the charges.
One for the good guys, just in from New York City. The progressive DA here in New York has dropped the charges against that bodega worker.
Jose Alba, they dropped the charges, but now he's suing. So,
and his bail was set at $500,000. Initially, it was later reduced. But anyway, there's been a lot of pressure on the DA to drop this case out of self.
So it is what? We've been in this live for almost 15 minutes. So if you're still watching, go ahead and, what's it called? Go ahead and subscribe. We're up to 535 subscribers and moving on up. I want to be able to express myself while I still can. Like I said before, I'm battling MS, so I don't know how much longer I have until I lose my ability to speak. Just little by little, I could still walk, barely. So I'm going to continue to walk, continue to talk. I don't know for how much longer. Hopefully they find a cure. Probably not, but I hope they do actually. You know what? You got to stay positive in life. So being positive, yeah, they're going to find a cure. They're going to be running down the streets when they finally do. So with that, I'm going to say
Verbal on life.
Thought I see that, but I hit from the side. I'm gripping her hair and I'm gripping her thighs. I fuck with the body, she fuck with my mind. It's too many times, it's too many times.
That's my favorite line. You don't work, you don't eat. And I just want to give a shout out again to Nate No Filter and Jay Smith. They couldn't make it to this episode because Nate No Filter got to get his sleep. He actually has a real job. I'm the only one here that my real job is just to stay on my feet if I can. So it's Friday, so you're not going to get a lot of people clicking into your show to watch because it's Friday. People are traveling to their destinations. Traffic is heavy on Fridays. It's crazy out there. So for this week, you know what I noticed? I say so a lot. So. I'm going to stop saying that. And do a better job at expressing myself and putting my thoughts out there. The only way you can do anything in life is to do it over and over again, to get it correct, to get it done right. There is no solutions aside from getting things done. In the background, what is playing is the Twin Tower when they collapsed. How come they collapsed down? They didn't move sideways. So shout out to the engineers for making a great, great building that didn't hurt others. So what can we do to make this show fun? All right, we're going to leave it there. All right, almost 20 minutes. So if you're still watching, go ahead and subscribe. Let's try to get to 540 by the end of next week. By the end of this week, today's Friday, we made it to 535. Amazing. So we're going to keep going with this. And it's almost 11 in the morning on the East Coast. You know what? I was watching other episode from Watching the Watcher. I'm a big fan of Watching the Watcher. He seems to be on vacation, or I think he might be on the run because he was taping out from California or something. And completely different background, horrible microphone. See, I'm trying to fix my microphone. And it was a bad episode, but shout out to Watching the Watchers, Nate the lawyer. Now I'm just spewing out names. Let's try to get to the 20-minute mark. I think we're going to leave it there. And let me see who's texting me. Nobody's texting me. It's telling me that it's time for me to stand up. I'm going to get out of here and just post short. See you guys in the next episode. Peace.